Hi there, this is Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits, and today I'm going to be showing you how I use Mattress Stitch to seam the underarm of my Rose cardigan. So for this portion of the sweater, we are going to seam it so that the seam is hidden. Unlike the top of the sleeve where we used an exposed seam, this one we want to hide it inside the cardigan. So we want our right side facing out, and for this sweater, reverse stockinette or the purl side is our right side. So I have the two sides I need to seam lined up together with right side facing out, and you're going to need a tapestry needle. I really liked the ones with the curved tip because I just find it's really easy for maneuvering my needle through my yarn. And to seam for this sweater, I'm just using the same yarn that I knit the sweater out of. So you're going to need a length about 2.5 times the area that you need to seam, the length of your seam. So we put that onto our tapestry needle, and we need to begin by anchoring our yarn so that it doesn't slide out while we're seaming. So I begin at the lowest edge, and I want to get it as close to that edge corner as I can, and you just feed your needle tip through, and we'll leave a little tail, not too much. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. A couple inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So I'm going to feed it through the lowest corner. From back to front. And now I am going to go through the original corner one more time, and that's going to kind of help lock it in place. You could still pull it out very easily, but this will give it a little bit of an anchor so we can begin seaming. So there we go. Now for mattress stitch, what we're doing is we're going to be going up a few strands on this side and then a few strands on the other and back and forth until we can kind of zip up our seam. Now this is going to be a little different than the mattress stitch I showed you in the first video if you watched that, because we're working with the purl side and we're also working with a fabric that's knit at a different direction. So I am going to make sure, you want to make sure that you stay consistent. So I like to be as close to my edge as possible, and I'm going to utilize these little purl bumps to show me if I follow these, then I know I'm going to stay consistent within one row instead of kind of, oops, now I'm a little further over here, over there. So I put my needle tip below this first bump and bring it through. Now if you watched my other video, you saw that I chose to use the ladder on my stockinette rows, and I'd go up 2 at a time. I'm doing that same thing here where I'm using, this is basically the knit stitch from the other side, but I'm still following that guideline of kind of 2 bars on my needle, my little purl bump there. So I'm just gonna feed my yarn through, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And you don't have to worry too much about how tight it is right off the get-go because we're going to give it a tug after a couple inches. So on this side, again, I want to go as close to that edge as I can, and I'm going to go around this purl bump here. Again, utilizing, see those 2 strands of that knit stitch? There we go. And I'm just going to go back and forth like that the whole way. So here's my next one. Both legs of that stitch. Now the nice thing about seaming is you want to keep it as tidy as you can and as even as you can. But if, let's say, along the way somewhere you maybe got a little off course and you're realizing that this side is almost done, but you've still got a little bit of area on this one, in that case, if you needed to play catch up, you could go up maybe 3. So go up 1 more leg here. to kind of jump it up to catch it up, and it'll wiggle into place. So just try and relax and enjoy your seaming as a nice break from your knitting, and you're one step closer to being able to wear your sweater, because we're just going to keep moving back and forth. There we go. So I'm going to do one more on this side, and then I'll zip it up. I'll give my yarn a tug to show you what that looks like. All right, so you can see here's my seaming, and when you pull this, you can give it a pretty good tug. This is why you want to use like a stronger yarn. If you were using a really fragile yarn, it might break, but this yarn has got a nice twist to it, so it's good for seaming. And you see how it pulls it right together, and it's a nice invisible seam. Now on the other side is where you're going to see your seam. So that is the inside of my cardigan. Let's say I did want to have an exposed seam on this side, because some of you might. I'm going to switch over and show you that now. If you don't want an exposed seam, you're just going to continue all the way up until you're done. Now, if you did want an exposed seam for this particular sweater, we would anchor at the bottom of our work just like we did, but we have the wrong side facing. And this side's actually a little easier to seam on because it's really easy to see what you're doing. So what I would do is I would go into the legs of that first knit stitch and pull up. So we're doing it the same exact way as we did on our purl side, and we're just doing it on our knit side. So then I would go across to this side, and I would go under two legs, again as close to my edge as I can, and go under both legs of that knit stitch. So if you like doing this, if you wanted to have an exposed seam on the underarm, this is how you would do it. Two legs of this knit stitch. And I'm going to go up a little ways so that you can see what that exposed seam would look like on the other side. Again, you can do it either way. I found with the faded cardigan version, I didn't like the way my color changes looked on an exposed seam, so that's why I chose to hide the underarm seam. But if you follow my work, you know I'm a big fan of exposed seams. I like that raw edge. Okay, so there's a few. Again, you would just pull tight and it totally hides it on that side. And then on this side, now that is what the exposed seam would look like if you wanted to choose that option all the way up. So you can do it either way, but there's a good visual for you no matter which side of your work you're working on. I either follow one purl bump or I follow the legs of one knit stitch, and you just go back and forth until you're done. I hope that you enjoy seaming your work. I think it's a really fun part of the process, and I hope that you found this video helpful. Thank you.